So we have great news. Google 20%,
FICO 33%,
Cypher mining 200%,
Innodator 95%.
and Palantir 10%. This is the percentage gain that you would have made since our first two podcasts. And we are not joking. You can go ahead and look at our past podcasts, and these are percentage gains. We are not trying to, just mention it out there as a clickbait here, but just also wanted to share that we are trying to constantly add value. And these were some of our good picks. And me and Rohit, they were also discussing that every episode, we just don't want to be, make it a show about new stocks, but we also want to keep calling back to the stocks that we were so bullish on, let's say 2-3 episodes ago, and how are they performing right now. And these are the 5 names that have really outperformed the market.
The markets have done well, but then 200% gains and then 95% gains.
Yeah,
These are
madness.
some exceptional picks. So we'll quickly just discuss what we'll discuss today. So recent state of the markets, of course, the Fed rate cut and stuff, and then a bit of technical analysis on the S&P 500. Then we'll discuss a few stocks and some trending sectors as well. So yeah, let's start.
Let's start. I think बहुत ही interesting docket है भैया. I think the first thing that we want to discuss is that Fed has recently cut rates in September. There was a meeting, and they have cut interest rates by 0.25%. और जैसा कि elitists बोलते हैं 25 basis points. But overall, हमने as a broader a broader lever for this bull market is going to be, interest rate cuts, right? That's why we
Sure.
keep talking about it again and again. And basically, before 2025 ends, hopefully there should be at least 1 or 2 more cuts, which is being anticipated, right? So, as I said, why it is important is because, as interest rate cuts happen, the stock market should rally there. So that was one important news that happened in September. So yes, Bhaiya, what else did we miss?
Soon after that, one bad news got dropped, which was that the US government shut down
Oh yeah,
because the houses could not get in consensus regarding some bills. And then what's happening now is that the government, some of the federal agencies won't be working till some few weeks, I hope. I hope like they're able to come to a resolution and work it out. And because of this shutdown, right, there was some data which was supposed to come earlier this week regarding labor markets, labor claims and stuff. So all that data did not come at all. And
yeah,
let's see till when does it continue, because this has happened a few times in the past 10 to 20 years, but I would say that it does not affect the markets too much, especially in a slightly longer term. But yeah, it is something that for the shorter term sometimes becomes a little scary. But I don't think there's anything to worry about. And the market has not responded to it negatively either. So yeah,
right.
I think we're good to
Yeah,
go for the next few,
yeah. I
for
hope
this
they,
quarter.
yeah, I hope they resolve it soon. Matlab, it's a very silly thing, that happens in US, but I really hope they resolve it soon. The markets can continue. The other thing is that by October end, I think we'll have a lot of company earnings starting again. Generally, the forecasts are very bullish as to at least some of the top companies, right? Like now knowing the fact that the top 10 companies on S&P 500 account for about 40% of S&P 500, right? So,
Yeah.
largely those 10 companies are what keeping the bull market alive. So estimates for those companies look good. There shouldn't be any major surprises, downsides, in terms of, let's say these top 10 companies not performing. So should be good. I'm really looking out for, and there can be surprises. It just has to be upwards.
Yeah, positive surprises.
Yeah, positive surprises are all good. Totally up for it. But, yeah, let's see. So the earning season is going to start, and for all of the new investors, right? I think बहुत important है. इस शुरू में मुझे भी बहुत बोरिंग लगता था, these earning calls, and I honestly don't listen to all earning calls, but definitely in the world of AI, summaries और वो जानना बहुत जरूरी है, because there are a lot of things जो बोली जाती हैं that will give you an insight into what is going to happen in the future.
in larger sectors. Yeah.
In larger sectors, right? So, for example, Google will give you insights into कि अच्छा ठीक है उनके cloud bookings कैसे हैं, for example, or Amazon will give you that insight and stuff like that. Hence, it becomes very important, to at least read the summary, right? So that's the whole idea of why earnings call are important, and obviously, earnings long term में is the biggest thing that decides whether that stock will run up.
Yeah, man,
So yeah,
for
something
sure.
to look out for.
Like according to estimates, the earnings for Q3 quarter three are expected to grow almost 9% year on year basis, which is pretty good growth
Yeah,
for
that's
all the people who are crying that markets are overvalued and stuff. If earnings are increasing at such a rate, that says a lot about the US economy. I think it's doing good as of now. I hope that this quarter three results quashes that thing that tariffs would be bad for US in the short term. I'm not so sure that that's the truth. So yeah, let's see. So the valuations are for sure very rich, but I think the since the earning estimates are going on rising, so the markets, the prices of the stocks should also keep on rising. And then Q4 is especially known for something called like a Halloween rally around the end of October, and then obviously the Santa rally towards the end of the year, around Christmas time, New Year's time. So yeah, I think Q4 is bullish. And on top of that, I'll just share a chart.
yes.
I was worried about it till a few weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago actually, but now I think
What's the chat about?
it's the S&P chart, and it was showing it had a bearish divergence. Are you able to see the chart?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So I had shown this bearish divergence that was happening on the S&P chart. A bearish divergence is like a technical term where the price is going on increasing, but the moving averages, the MACD is like going down. So what has happened is like I'll just touch upon it briefly because these are like slightly deeper topics. So what has happened is that it has broken the bearish divergence, and then now it's slated to go up. So like it confirms kind of that bullish momentum that I saw coming. So
Awesome. So this is
yeah,
good news, right? Largely, that's what
very
I
good
care
news.
about. Good news. Yes, good news.
Technical wise, fundamental wise, I think we are good for
Really good.
quarter four.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes. As you said, quarter four generally has been bullish for US markets. Awesome. And what do we have next? Okay. Yes, we have a very surprise play. So generally, हम लोग जब कोई play लेते, right? There are investors like that who do some on ground research, and they have some insights. So for me, I have that insight on Apple. So basically, I think almost everybody has that intuition, but let me call out on that intuition right now. राइट, आप सबने आईफोन 17, 17 प्रो, 17 प्रो मैक्स के सेल्स के बारे में तो सुना होगा, राइट? सो आईफोन स्टिल constitutes for about 50% of Apple's revenue, right? So it's a very, very, very important thing for Apple, right? Now let's again, everybody has been hearing that these phones have been selling like crazy, but let me just throw some numbers in there, right? First of all, in India, Flipkart had a big billion day, right? And Amazon had a great Indian festival. For at both of these places, you can just go on these platforms and check right now. None of these phones are available, right? All of them are out of stock. If you go to an offline center, let's say Reliance Digital or Chroma, there is at least a 1 month waiting period to get these phones.
Crazy.
And some of us Android fanboys, who might, like me, who might hate this, is irrelevant because, let's not get into the argument of people should not buy these phones on EMI and all that. I don't really
Yeah,
want to get into that argument. The only fact I care about is that will this affect into Apple's revenue, right? And I
for
totally feel so. Just one other data point that I want to show. 1 second, just sharing my screen. Okay, so let me just show you this data point. This is the relative search percentile for iPhone 16 Pro and iPhone 17 Pro. As you can see, iPhone 16 Pro is the line in red, and iPhone 17 Pro is the line in blue. And as you can see, the number of searches relatively for iPhone 17 Pro is at least more than 40% when you compare to iPhone 16 Pro. And I was also listening to, let me just stop screen sharing. Yes. And I was also listening to a podcast, one of India's leading podcasts. According to their data, they say that they have a lot of written content and YouTube content and all that. Their data suggests that iPhone 17 Pro searches are through the roof. And Flipkart has shared big billion data with those guys, which they were sharing on the podcast, saying that Flipkart has sold 50% more iPhones this time than they sold last time.
In
50%
India or worldwide?
in
In
India.
India.
In India.
That's
That was in
crazy.
India. And but the search data that we just saw was worldwide, right?
Yeah.
So basically, the bet here is that October 30th is when Apple will release their earnings,
Earnings.
right? So the bet here is that on October 30th, they might not be able to, account for all of these sales. I think that will happen in the next earnings, but I think people will take a bet before that happens, right? Because stock markets will obviously anticipate that. So the bet here is that buy Apple stock right now, maybe, and definitely hold till October 30th. My belief is that there will definitely be questions in the earnings call about how have iPhone 17 sales been, and the answer to that is what will make the stock thrive. So
For
that's the
sure.
bet.
For sure. And I think to add on top of this, you should also share that incident about that second-hand iPhone store that you went to.
Oh God, yes. I mean, I didn't know this. All of us knew this, that, for new Apple iPhones, there's so much craze, right? And I had just never gone to a second-hand Apple store. So there's this store near my house. We just wanted to exchange some Apple products. We went there, and trust me, maybe the footfall there was way more than, what you would see in an Apple store. I mean, there's just so much craze for even second-hand Apple devices, right? And I don't think that's the same thing, for any Android phones. I don't
There's
think
no
the market,
chance.
the second-hand market is as big. This is
No chance.
I mean, although this revenue will never go to Apple and all that, but that's not the point. The point here is that the brand has such a big hold on people's emotions, right? Is that I feel a lot of people, just because, and it's not a small thing, but just because Apple is not able to, release a chatbot AI, I think it is getting unnecessary, bearish comments for its stock. I feel when Apple releases that, and they're already in talks with Google and other partners as well, I think when they do it, they will make sure that that is one of the best personal assistants on phone. So it's
For
a
sure.
question of when they do it and not if they do it. And I would still say that, Apple could be a really big surprise in 2026.
For sure, for sure. I'll tell you another incident which recently happened. So I was
Mhm.
talking to one of our former colleagues, Arnav Saha, and
Mhm.
he mentioned that, he just bought a new iPhone and the previous one he used, it served him for almost 10 years.
Wow.
So we were discussing like, can that ever happen with even an Android flagship? I highly doubt it.
I highly doubt it. Yeah, me too. Yeah,
It's
I mean, I'm in
insane.
my fourth year of my Android. It's still functioning well, but I don't know.
10
So let's
seems
see.
too far-fetched for
And
Android,
yeah,
to
yeah,
be
that is
honest.
true. Yeah. I mean, that's another thing, right? And even if you have used it for 10 years, right, there is a lot of resale value, right? If you go to a second-hand market and try to sell that phone, you'll get a very decent price for it. For an Android phone that's 10 years old, you'll probably be better off selling it for scraps. So, yeah. So that's the bet, guys. You heard it here first.
We'll be taking swing trades, so yeah, you
Yes, we
can
are
also
absolutely taking this trade.
look into it. Yeah.
Yes. Awesome.
No financial advice,
Yeah, this is not a financial advice, please.
just educational.
Okay, Rohitya. So I think let's deep dive into the stocks that we have for today.
Yeah, yeah. I think to start off with, we'll discuss that sector which we think is
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
doing well.
Yes,
Transportation or tech combined with transportation and that broader area.
yes,
So I'll take Sumit take the lead with his stock picks.
yes. So broadly, I have been thinking about two companies, and I'll talk about the sector largely. But the two stocks that I want to talk about is Uber and Grab. Right now, let's think about the sector that broadly they operate in is logistics and transportation. Right, in that sector, the biggest thing that when I look for before I invest in companies is that is there a very clear moat. Right, why is that necessary? Is because in industries में अगर आपको unlike software plays, right, you take years to develop some sort of a network effect, right?
True, true.
Because let's understand how these companies work. Let's understand Uber, for example, right? There have to be enough drivers on the supply side, and there have to be enough customers to take those rides on the demand side. Only if they have both of these is when you have a really good business model, right? And these companies have invested years into developing that network effect, and
Also
that's the
billions.
billions as well,
Yeah.
billions burned. Yes, so that is absolutely there, right? So talking about Uber first. Uber, I think all of us, I am a regular user of Uber. With respect to Uber, Uber has recently turned profitable, and Uber has not only turned profitable, but they are able to grow their free cash flow like crazy, right? All of these offers that all of us used to get when Uber had just entered the market, हम सबने देखा है कि those offers have vanished away. But none of us have stopped taking those rides.
True, true.
राइट एंड जो मैं पहले कह रहा था एक नए एंट्रेंट के लिए जो अगर कल को लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल आई वांट टू जस्ट चैलेंज उबर इट इज सो डिफिकल्ट फॉर मी हाउ डू आई क्रिएट दैट नेटवर्क इफेक्ट राइट सो नेटवर्क इफेक्ट्स आर नॉट ओनली ट्रू इन सोशल मीडिया लेट्स से व्हाई इंस्टाग्राम से टक्कर लेने में इतना प्रॉब्लम है बिकॉज एवरीबडी इज ऑन इंस्टाग्राम right why will I be on a social media app where nobody's there is a very similar thing of network effects here right why would you be on an app where you might not get drivers. So that's the whole play. They have invested a lot of money to develop that network. So the moat is very clear, right? That's the fundamental play here.
Even the prices, right? When you compare the prices with Ola or Rapido, I've found that Uber's prices are always the lowest, even without any additional discounts.
And most of these other companies, by the way, are still burning money to be sure,
Yeah.
right? They have to burn money to just compete with Uber, right? So that's the first thing कि moat बहुत clear है in companies का, which is a very 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 important factor. And most importantly, Uber right now is at a very very low price to earnings ratio, right? Which is under 20 right now. If you see the trailing PE, let me actually just pull it up and show you a data point. So this is Uber stock, right? As you can see that there are three fundamental ways how they generate revenue. There's mobility, there's delivery, and there's freight, right? Mobility is the Uber cabs that all of us know. Delivery is basically कॉम्पिटिटर है जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल हमारे लिए स्विगी इंस्टामार्ट है और ब्लिंकिट है वहां पे उबर ईट्स है राइट उबर ईट्स although the name suggests is only for food but it's not the case they have started a lot of other deliveries like blinkit as well in USA and some other markets as well delivery businesses uber eats for them and freight is basically now they have gotten started with logistics that's a relatively smaller part of the business but as you can see is the growth rate for the mobility business is awesome. They're growing at a CAGR of around 19%.
With such a skill, that's insane.
Exactly, with such a scale, right? The delivery market, I would say they have just gotten started with their delivery market, right? And this is their freight revenue. The other most important thing that you have to see in these companies, जो आपको बाकी mostly किसी company में नहीं मिलेगा, is operating margin. As you can see here, after December 19, Uber has just turned around the game with respect to operating margins. And they're continuously improving it, जो उनके सीधा सीधा bottom line में आ रहा है. और क्यों उनका हर earnings per share जब वो लोग release करते हैं, that is just increasing. Because not only they're improving their revenue, but they're also improving the cost of that revenue, right? So that is just ending up in profits. So that was the broader point I wanted to say. underplayed things in Uber's revenue, or two hidden things, is Uber's advertisement business that they do on the platform, right? And here I just wanted to mention this article from Nasdaq, is that Uber's advertisement business recently, I think in 2025, they surpassed $1.5 billion in revenue just from advertisement,
Crazy.
which is growing 60% year on year, by the way.
Insane.
Right? So basically, there are these levers that the company has not even pulled to an extent, right? And because they have such a big distribution, just advertisement, and we've seen this with Amazon, right? एक बार आपने distribution बना लिया, then advertisement becomes a really, really great asset for you, right?
True.
So that's an undervalued play here, or rather a hidden play here with Uber. The other thing I wanted to say is, again, Uber Eats as a segment is growing like crazy. So if you see with respect to mobility and delivery, mobility is taking up huger chunks of their total revenue, and it's again growing at a very, very substantial pace. So overall, that's the thing about Uber that I think a lot of people are
I
not
think
valuing
the
accordingly.
AI partnerships as well, I guess, with Waymo and stuff. So I think that'll also come into picture very soon.
Yes. Yes. So the bearish theory for a lot of these mobility companies is that autonomous vehicles, right? And for people who don't know, US Meet is already a reality, right? You have Waymo, you have Tesla, autopilot and stuff like that, right? Now, again, I think Uber here also has a great edge, right? So I was listening to a podcast recently, जो Uber के CEO है, Dara. Basically, he had a very good point that first of all, Uber itself is invested in a lot of autonomous vehicles. तो एक उनका play वैसे है, right? दूसरा उनका play कैसे कि let's say I am Tesla, for example. Ideally, Tesla would actually want to partner with Uber because Uber already has the demand for it. तो फॉर मी एज अ बिजनेस मेरे लिए सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट मेट्रिक है द परसेंटेज यूटिलाइजेशन ऑफ माई कार्स, राइट, which will be best on an app where there are millions and millions of customers already. Another reason why Waymo is pushing a lot of their cars, they started to do it through Uber now. So I think that's another play. So they are well placed to take full advantage of autonomous vehicles. Again, that's like a big tech bet on these companies. So Uber, I think, is absolutely well placed, and more importantly, as I said, of all of this, you're seeing the company is growing revenue, the company is growing it at a profitable rate, their free cash flow is great and stuff, and the company is only valued at a single PE right now. So considering all of this, I think it's a great buy right now. I have been invested in Uber for some time, but I'm thinking of increasing my position.
So, like, along with Uber, I think the whole sector is sort of expanding right now. Another example is Lyft.
Yes.
So, like, both Uber and Lyft became profitable sometime last year, 2024. The net income for Lyft in Q2 of 2024 was just 5 million. But this year's Q2, their income has become 40 million. That is like 8x, which is insane. And, their EBITDA margins have increased by 26% year on year. Also because this, like, Lyft is a much smaller company, what has happened is that while Uber has like returns of 30%, around 30% in the last 1 year, Lyft on the other hand has returns of around 75% in the last 1 year. So yeah, it obviously has a very high PE, and it's like a much smaller company, because of which it probably got much more growth than Uber. But again, it's like a much more riskier play than Uber. But if things go well, especially like when people consider Lyft as like a greener option than Uber, so I think even companies like Lyft might have like a good future if they are able to take more market share out of Uber, which I'm not sure if they would be able to do it very well. But yeah, that's another play you can consider and research into.
In the mobility market, yes, Lyft is definitely a good play. But एक चीज मैं highlight करना चाहूंगा भैया, that you just touched upon, is that once these companies turn on the profitability tap, तो वहां पे actual आप जब इनका stock market जो इनका चार्ट है, right? जब आप उसको overlay करोगे, on their profitability pattern, you'll see a very, very clear correlation. And I've seen this happen multiple times. When that happens is when the stock of that, the stock price takes a turnaround. And that's actually the best time to invest, right? So Uber, I think उनको profitable हुए अब थोड़ा time हो गया. I think they were able to figure this out 2-3 years back. But similar to that, basically one more company I wanted to mention is Grab. So Grab is a very, very, very simple play, or a very, very clear play rather. अगर आपने Uber miss किया, then Grab is the way, because Grab is doing exactly what Uber did 3-4 years back. They have just turned profitable. I think they have about 1 या 2 quarters of profitability उन्होंने दिखाया है. Now if they can do it consistently, which from all of their earnings call the it's one of their main priorities. We have to grow profitably, right? So I think that's first of all that there is a big turnaround playing Grab. पहली चीज. दूसरी चीज, in the whole Southeast Asian market, Grab as a player owns in totality about 70% of the market, which is even bigger than what Uber controls in Ye. And Uber, by the way, was never able to crack in the Southeast Asian countries, right? So you're talking about Singapore, you're talking about Indonesia, you're talking about Thailand, and some other countries, right, in that area. And these countries are really growing at a very, very fast pace. So you have a population who's growing their, per capita income. Parallelly, you have a service which totally correlates to that growth. And Grab thoda sa better play kyun hai? Because it is also very similar to Uber in that sense, but they are not only giving you cabs, but they are also delivering stuff to your home.
Yeah.
And now they have a finance play as well, which is again a small segment, but it is considerable amount of their revenue. So it is
Yeah.
all three of these things, which is definitely will be opted by a population जिसका per capita income बढ़ रहा है, right? And you've seen this play in India, right? Everybody knows the revenue of Blinkit and stuff that these guys have done, right? So Grab is all of that rolled into one company.
Yeah. I think they might also be somewhere trying to become like a all-in-one sort of app. And like whenever you talk to someone who has been to like some Southeast Asian country and traveled there and come back, I've only heard good things about Grab. So I think the user experience must be very good. I personally haven't had the chance to use it yet, but yeah, I've heard like a lot of good things from a lot of people.
I mean, when I was in Thailand, this was our best mode of travel, right? Just do a grab. आपको खाना मंगाना है, grab it. और अब कहीं जाना है, then don't grab and stuff. Just wanted to share a small other piece of information why I'm also bullish. So basically, this is Grab's chart. Basically, this blue line that we see is 200 weekly moving average, right? And Grab has recently इसको break किया इसने, right? And this is very, very, very bullish. I can't say how bullish this can be for a stock. This is huge. If they could sustain this as a support level, this would become not only support, but this will trigger a lot of Bloomberg terminals, Wall Street में कि अच्छा ठीक है यार, there was a stock जो बहुत सालों से 200 weekly के नहीं, अभी it has broken up. So काफी जगह पे this gets flagged because it is a very bullish indicator. So another reason why,
Especially for a growing company.
especially for a growing company which is not profitable also, right? So it is basically checking all the boxes for me. So I'm personally, looking to invest my position in Uber and Grab.
And I think the next section would be how to research stocks using AI.
Yes.
So yeah, that's something I've been doing since some time. I've tried a lot of apps, all these AI apps from Claude to ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity. So like first thing what I've noticed is that Perplexity has very close ties with some financial data providers for the Indian markets as well as for the US markets. But I still feel that ChatGPT does like a much better job of analyzing the data and coming up with inferences and stuff. So I'll just share my screen and like share the workflow of how I went about shortlisting some stocks and researching more deeply into it using AI, using ChatGPT specifically.
Excited to know where.
And we'll also share the link in the description. So if anyone else wants to, go through this, see what we did. So yeah, this is a chart. So this is an image. This is like a screenshot of someone who had, made a system of scoring different stocks, which I really liked. So what I told ChatGPT is that, like, find the 15 most fundamentally strong companies in the US market, use the best prompt generation practices. I told it to use this system as a guide for creating an investment scorecard out of a total of 100, and then rank the companies on these factors, like in descending order. So the aim, I told the ChatGPT, is to outperform the returns of S&P 500 by over 3x in the next 3 years. So that is like a huge thing if it happens, but yeah, like I just wanted to take my chances. So yeah, so what ChatGPT did is it made like a very detailed prompt. If you notice, it has like a lot of things, like the disclosures that these companies do, liquidity, how much liquidity they have, the market cap and stuff, a daily dollar volume, trading volume and stuff. It's a very long prompt. And then there is this scoring model as well, which, we can basically copy this prompt and use it in any of these AI softwares. It made this scoring model out of 100, like cash versus debt, what is the ratio, revenue growth, CAGR over 3 years, operating margin, all these things, which I would suggest you to really, go through this chart and see. I think it's a quite a good model. And then once I got this, yeah, obviously the output requirements. So you see how long this prompt has been. It's like you keep going down, and then finally, okay, like this is the deliverables that we want from this prompt. Now, what I did is, instead of going and copying and pasting this prompt in a new chat window, I just told it that, score these two companies according to the framework provided. I gave it these two companies. So these were companies which I was interested in, and, then compiled all the data and gave scores to both these companies, and it ranked Cadence higher than Palantir, which I was a bit surprised. But yeah, like I think both are very good AI plays for the long term, like stalwarts in their industries.
For reference here,
Yeah.
have you run any of the companies that we know are amazing? Let's say an Amazon or a Microsoft.
Yeah, actually, that's what I wanted to test. I believe that, Cadence is one of the best companies for the AI play. And I know that obviously Palantir has like a different level of moats and stuff. So that's why I kind of wanted to compare these two and see if what ChatGPT would say. I was hoping that it would say that, yeah, Cadence would be a better bet. And thankfully it did. So it also kind of gave me a little more confidence on, using ChatGPT for analyzing stocks. And this score basically means that if I invest equal amounts in Palantir and Cadence today, so in 3 years' time, I would get a better return in Cadence. So that's how this, whole prompt was designed to be. So they've given all the details and stuff. I'll let you read it later through the link.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is gold.
Yeah, I think this,
I mean,
like the,
before the AI age,
yeah,
you had to dig up every information, look at a lot of
seriously.
YouTube videos and stuff like that, and सबका fundamental base style बहुत different होता है, right? Let's say for example, my risk appetite might be lesser than yours and stuff like that, but that's the best part. You have your personal advisor. You can prompt it in some way
Exactly.
so that it's catered to you. So that's a
Yeah, yeah.
big thing. Yeah, yeah.
True, true. Then what I did is I added some more companies, and
Hmm.
I told it to create a simple scoring table
Oh
for
yes. Now
all
I'm
these.
yes. Okay. Okay.
So I just wanted to test out, and I told it that detailed breakdown isn't required, just the scores are enough for now. So it gave all these companies ratings for all these companies, and this was, I think, a couple of months ago. So the ratings right now would have changed, but yeah, like I just wanted to share the methodology and the sequence of things that I did. So these were the scores. Nvidia at the top. Then yeah, Microsoft, Meta. I mean, the top 5, 6. I'm not surprised, to be honest. But these are all very good companies. Like at least the first 10, I would say, are pretty good. And yeah, then ChatGPT as if I want, I can rerun these with fresh filings. I actually don't know why ChatGPT did not do this
Yeah, that's
at
such
that
a
time.
stupid question. Like, bro,
Yeah,
who did not do that?
yeah. So I told it, yes, do that by default. Now onwards. Then I told it, review the overall scoring system. Let me know if the scoring system can be improved. So what I've noticed is when using AI, right?
Right.
Sometimes when you challenge AI, it goes a step further and improves its own results.
Hmm.
So I also asked it to detail out the factors being used.
Right.
So it asked me some questions. Should the review focus on aligning your scoring system with the frameworks used by specific top investors or more broadly accepted academic models and stuff? So I just told whatever happens, whatever helps with the goal is to get the best returns
Yeah, just
by
give
the
me the
horizon.
returns.
Yeah, that's all I care about at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then optimize the scoring system for short term or longer term. So I gave it like a 5+ year compounding. And this, I was really, like I was impressed by these questions. So I said, obviously, like open to adding, removing, modifying the factors if it helps the goal. So it gave me like a more optimized investing model. It's again very long, so I'll just skip it for now. But yeah, it'll be very interesting if you want to read it.
I think honestly, the list that I saw of all the companies that you
Yeah,
showed,
yeah,
felt a lot legit. To be honest, based on the research that I have done, right?
for
Like Applavin and stuff like that. So yeah, felt very legit scoring system.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, like I agreed with like a lot of what they had mentioned here.
Yeah.
There was something which I had it in my mind. Like I personally rate like CEO and the quality of the management very highly when analyzing stocks. So I'm like kind of questioning ChatGPT. Don't you think it's as important as the factors you mentioned? And in either case, like share a summary of the proposed revise. I like asked it that see if that can be included. Do you think it would improve the rating, the scoring system? And then at the end, like this is like a hidden gold mine whenever you're using any AI softwares. You tell it not to agree with you with everything that you say. I urge you to disagree whenever you believe like what I say isn't ideal or optimal or right. This will change the game totally whenever you're using AI agents.
But
Give
actually,
it a
this is
try.
one thing that I dislike about AI is I want them to do this by default. Because
True, true, true.
आपने नहीं लिखा है, and bro, if I'm
True.
talking about something stupid, then please
Yeah.
correct me. Right? That's
Correct.
that is one big point of what intelligence means. They don't have
True.
to agree with everything.
True. True. So yeah, this is like a game changer. It has been for me since whenever, like probably 3, 4 months
Honestly,
ago
a
when
lot of your prompts were.
for sure, for sure. Yeah. Then ChatGPT love the pushback is my honest take, and yeah, it added like a bit of like explicitly 8% into the scoring system, and accordingly changed the other scoring system. So I've made this crazy prompt for ChatGPT, which you can use to find out like the best, fundamentally strongest companies in the US stock market. So it has a lot of details like profitability, growth, quality, stability, capital discipline, valuation, the quality of the management. And what I did is I asked ChatGPT to find me like the top 15 ranked US listed stocks for using this prompt. So I'll just show you like the top 15 companies it came up with. So it has the likes of Nvidia, AMD, Arista Networks, ASML, and so on. I'll share the link to this and you can take a look at this. chat for yourself.
Awesome. This is a great list, Vaya. I think this is awesome. A lot of the names I think I already agree on. Hence, I think this model definitely works. So yeah,
I think like again wanted to go a step further. So one thing was that it gave a score of 125, but I had mentioned earlier that I wanted for 100 itself. And again, I noticed something after this ranking. Like I asked it that can you look into companies that are indirectly powering the growth of these sectors, AI, tech, semiconductors, because that's one thing which I believe will outperform the likes of Nvidia in the future. Some of these companies, at least.
that is true.
So it added some new companies in this. So if you notice, there are companies like Vertiv, which are like power and liquid cooling solutions and stuff. Constellation Energy, which is an energy provider. I think I've shared this list earlier in an Excel sheet. I had
Yeah,
showed it at least. So yeah, these are some riskier plays, but yeah, very promising. And yeah, I've done a lot of back and forth even further. Like I asked it specifically, why don't I see Cadence in this list? You know, like at the beginning of this ChatGPT had ranked it so highly and then totally missed it in the rankings. So again, I got it included and it came second in the list. So I knew for sure that, if they missed one, they might have missed even more good companies here. So I asked it, given that you missed Cadence, please look even more deep and double check if you can find more of such stocks. And then it did. It added some more. Synopsys, Arista Network. Yeah, I have to still look into some of these, but yeah, I know where to look now. So yeah, I'll share the link to this prompt, and yeah, you can do a deep dive into this and then into the stocks that are being talked about.
yeah. More importantly, I think what you said, right? Like people will get a very good initial filter, and then obviously, at the end, I would still suggest that don't just take the final suggestion from ChatGPT and put in your $10,000
True.
that, please. Take the names, but obviously it gives you a very good first set of names. और फिर आप रिसर्च कर सकते हो कि okay चलो this names my I as an investor now feel that this is where my money can go. So yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Bhaiya. I think we are towards an end of this podcast. I think this is an amazing one. We discussed a lot of things,
Yeah.
play some amazing stocks, and more importantly, how to use AI to research stocks.
Yeah. I think this was my favorite episode till now. So let's hope I get to say it for every episode. But yeah, I really love this episode. So
Awesome. I hope so. Yeah.
see you soon.
Awesome. Great. See you in the next one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Have a
Okay.
good day. Bye.